but a lot of ambulances were leaving the scene with flashing lights in the last 5 or 10 minutes. And as you see right here, coming right now, a lot of police cars are just butting through traffic right now, going up on curbs, going up on sidewalks, doing whatever they can to get to the scene. So it's still very, very frantic out here, to say the least. As you see this, look, we're getting live video right now. You see this unit just blaring right through traffic, going head on into the courthouse. So it's still a very, very active scene from a police standpoint. And again, a lot of ambulances coming and going from the courthouse. Now, of course, anytime you hear of any kind of shots fired, you're always going to be better safe than sorry and call in more ambulances than hopefully needed. And we got to hope that's the case here, that they called in, all hands on deck, and hopefully they only needed a couple of those ambulances. But right now, I can tell you a lot of police presence coming and going, and it couldn't be a worse time of day when you think about it. I mean, it is rush hour on a beautiful Friday afternoon, so there's a lot of people driving out and about, a lot of people not knowing what's going on, and of course you got onlookers, which is never good. You got people slowing down, looking out their windows, trying to figure out what's going on, which isn't any good, because all that is doing is getting in the way of the emergency vehicles trying to get here. And again, just like I talked about, here comes, I think, at least one fire truck, 2 fire trucks coming right as we speak at a high rate of speed. Police, literally, I just saw an officer running out of the way to make sure he's not in the way of this fire truck. And here they come. Now look, as these 2 fire trucks enter the courthouse area, we've got another emergency vehicle racing past with its lights on, leaving. And again, that is the confusion and the stressfulness out here. You've got so many emergency vehicles coming and going all at the same time. And again, a lot of people are just wanting answers at this point. And it's hard for probably the police to even give the media answers, because they're still trying to wrap their head around this and figure out exactly what happened, who was injured. And again, most importantly, making sure that all the shooters are accounted for. Right now, we believe only one shooter. I'm with a woman named Megan Banton. Megan, just tell us your story. Where were you when the shots rang out?
I was in building 2.
You were in building 2.
Yes.
What did you see? And first of all, we're glad you're okay. We're going to let you know right now we're so glad you're okay. Could you tell us what you saw, what you heard?
We just heard that there was an active shooter, and we just barricaded ourselves in offices to make sure that we were all safe, and I called 911 just to get them to come there as fast as possible.
What do you do next after a day like this? Do you go home and just hug your family? Talk about how you go about the rest of your day knowing what just occurred.
I'll probably have a lot of trouble sleeping at night, but yeah, just going home, hugging my family. I have a 11-month-old baby at home, and all I could think about was him and trying to make it home to him. So
apparently happened by a longtime employee who went into the building about 4:15 and just indiscriminately started shooting and hit a number of people. Police responded very quickly. They began to check on some of the victims and check on some of the people that were in the building. This shooter went multiple floors, as he said, and then they engaged with the suspect, and the suspect is now deceased. Yeah. But a number of they're still getting in touch with families, and a number of the victims have not been identified. And the thing that the chiefs emphasize is just the intensity and the size of the scene. This is a very big scene, yeah, and it's going to take some time. That's why they're being assisted by the FBI and other agencies, state police, because of the size of the scene. And as you said, no police chief, no mayor, no city manager, no one wants to be able to have to stand up one day and say something like this. The second time something like this has happened in Virginia, and it's just extremely tragic.
Well, Janet, what really triggered in my mind is when the mayor, Bobby Dyer, said this is the worst day in Virginia Beach history. That really hits hard. I mean, Virginia Beach has a long, proud history, and to think that right now I'm reporting on the worst day, it's hard to really wrap your mind around. But then you hear the facts. 11 people shot dead, 6 others wounded, taken to the hospital. It's hard to describe what those families must be going through. And then you think outside the immediate family, and you think of the entire family of Virginia Beach, and we're talking about the city. I mean, these are people we depend on every day.
as the sun rose over the Virginia Beach Municipal Center.
May I put my arm on you?
Yes, sure, you can.
Thank you. Father God,
The mourning continues for the 12 victims shot last Friday.
Father God, it must be especially hard for this young couple as they come here to mourn, grieve, and pay respects. They knew all these people, and
At the memorial just blocks away from the scene,
the pain is beyond any words I could ever pray to you, Father.
Chaplain Bob Osler is helping the community heal with prayer.
Give them strength today, Lord, as they're in shock like the rest of us.
It's an act of service he's repeated across country
This is my 6th shooting in a year.
for decades.
I was at the bridge collapse in South Florida. I was a chaplain at Ground Zero in New York.
But to him, Virginia Beach stands out.
You come in here and you see this tragedy happen. It can happen right in your backyard. And everybody always says, oh, not here. It won't happen here. But it does happen. Father, thank you for these gentlemen just here, and I can see it in their faces. They're just grieving and mourning.
He talked to one of the victim's sisters yesterday.
Just heart-wrenching, heartbreaking stuff, you know. But I just held her and prayed with her and listened to her.
In addition to helping the community heal through faith, the United Way of Southampton Roads is helping support through fundraising.
The outpouring of support from the community has just been amazing.
City officials asked them to set up a fund to collect donations for the loved ones' families.
None of the victims' families have to pay anything out of pocket to lay their family member to rest.
I work at the courthouse.
Oh, did you know any of these folks?
No,
No?
I didn't.
Would you like to go up and pray together?
All together,
Sure.
it's a team effort so the community can help through payment and prayer.
Thanks, fellas. God bless you. You have a great day, okay? Thank you.
How dark a day was May 31st for the city of Virginia Beach?
The darkest day in my life and in the history of Virginia Beach.
Dyer says the city still has a long way to go to heal. If there's a light in this tragedy, he says, it's been the overwhelming positive response of the community, coming together in so many ways to care for the victims and their families. The shooting will not define Virginia Beach, he says.
If I can emphasize one thing right off the bat, this incident was an anomaly. Does not happen in Virginia Beach.
Now a month after the shooting, as mementos left at the makeshift memorial weather, and memories of memorial services fade, there is a growing frustration among victims' families who wonder if they'll ever know for sure what really happened inside Building 2 that day.
And one of the criticisms that's out there right now is the city right now is not being transparent enough. What do you say to that?
It's so frustrating for people. People want answers now. We all want answers now. But right now, this was such a complicated crime scene with, a lot of moving facets.
Among the questions, the gunman's work history, passed off by the city hours after the shooting as just satisfactory. I asked Mayor Dyer, were there in fact issues with Dwayne Craddock's job performance, as so many inside the building have said?
From what I understand, yes.
Dorian barrels towards our area. The Outer Banks are right in the crosshairs, but you can expect heavy rain and flooding in Hampton Roads, too. And the threat is very real in Hatteras. Many people say they're not evacuating.
If it were a 4 or 5, we'd be out of here. But no, we'll stay.
But now they're taking it seriously. We spoke to people who spent all day boarding up. In Norfolk, flooding is the issue. We're talking to city officials about how they're getting ready for the worst.
Our special coverage of Hurricane Dorian starts right now. We have extensive live team coverage from around the area.
Very windy there too, Evan, we can see.
Yeah, that's no surprise, is it, guys? Welcome back to the ocean front, where it's almost like a small acupuncture treatment with the sand biting in the face. But conditions now, the wind's coming a little bit more from the north-northwest than just from the northwest and west. It was pushing the sand kind of directly towards the boardwalk earlier. Now it's kind of pushing it down the boardwalk. And speaking of down the boardwalk, if you look this way, this is my homemade visibility index. It's about 2.5 hotels that you can see down there on the boardwalk, maybe 3 if you look down that way. Other than that, just sheets of rain coming in from the northwest off the ocean here.
We also want to get an update now on conditions in North Carolina. Let's check in with meteorologist Tim Pandages, who's now outside of the storm mode SUV. Tim, where are you?
Holy guacamole!
All right, guys, we're coming to you from Nags Head. We're only a couple miles from Alley Weatherton, but man, has the winds picked up here. We've got to be over hurricane force wind gusts right now. We are right along NC 12, just, a row of houses back from the ocean. The winds, I'd say, we're probably just due north right now. We are still getting pelted by all that sand. And I heard Evan talking about it kind of feels like acupuncture. I got a better one for you, Evan, if he's listening. It feels like it, when your arm or your leg falls asleep and it starts to come back, it feels like those. Little pins hitting you all over the place. And man, these winds are strong.
And the sound side here is what locals say they're mainly worried about because Dorian's winds look like they will push this water onto the road. Highway 12 is one of the biggest concerns. 13 News Now already saw inches of water on the pavement near Hatteras Village. If storm surge makes it impassable, those on the island are stuck.
How about this one? Taping windows is the best way to protect them. Also fiction. A few strips of tape won't do anything to protect glass from hard-driven debris. The idea that tape helps reduce shatter, that may be true, but that also makes it downright dangerous, because pieces of glass that do break actually end up being bigger. Your best bet, if you don't have shutters, use plywood.
This is some of the damage Hurricane Dorian left in Elizabeth City. Downed trees knocked over power lines, causing power outages across the city. Heavy rainfall turned this stretch of Flora Street and Riverside Avenue into a lake, leaving dangerous conditions for drivers. This road is no stranger to flooding. Neither is the tiny shed on Margie Sawyer's front yard.
Lifted everything up off of the floor.
This time, she didn't take any chances, so she had its foundation raised last night. Because inside of it,
Here's what I did.
A perfectly out-of-order art studio holds her most prized possessions.
It means the world to me. It's just my world.
Sawyer paints landscapes of different places,
birch trees,
changing seasons, and different walks of life.
This also is, see, this is dark. If I'm painting, I'm in a very good mood, and if I'm not painting, I'm in a bad mood.
She anxiously waited for the storm to pass inside of her safe haven, hoping the floodwaters wouldn't creep in like they have in years past. Dorian turned the lights off for many people in this town, but here, the colors within each framed painting
autumn colors
are the center of her universe.
Oh my goodness, just everything. It's just who I am. It's wonderful.
And for her, this is worth riding out the storm.
I think it's going to be okay.
In Elizabeth City, Adriana de Alba, 13 News Now.
On the place where we was, I never hear them say they run off over there. Run off. Other places I hear them stay in the woods and so long until they wear the clothes off them. Just rolled up, and stayed in the woods. They stayed in the woods. And they couldn't get him out.
Well, they were freedom seekers, actually. They were people that were here enslaved, probably in plantations around this area. But because this was an underground railroad stop, you probably had people coming from different states trying to get to the Great Dismal Swamp because it was actually not only a refuge now for wildlife, but it was back then a refuge for people escaping slavery.
Maroon communities were groups of varying size of people that came together because individually they had run away from slavery. My name's Dan Sayers. I am a historical archaeologist, and particularly I'm a professor here at American University.
One of the premier sources for the Great Dismal Swamp is the Moses Grandy slave narrative. I'm Eric Shepard. I am a descendant of the Grandys from Camden County, North Carolina. If you read that narrative, he was a waterman on the Great Dismal Swamp Canal, so he told about some of the people that actually were living here and set up communities in the swamp.
And they went and they realized that they could make use of this swamp, not just once in a while, not to hang out there for a few days and get back. That would have been interesting too. But they said, no, I am just done. I want to create a world, I want to be in a world that isn't, it's more of my choosing, more of what I want it to be. Yeah. Now let's see here. So you get a lot of these stone tools, you get a lot of things like this, right? Burnt clay, how exciting, right? But this kind of thing was so important to how they lived out there because this is the mud and the sandy clay mix that they put on their cabins, you know, and it's all there, just kind of sitting there.
By day, it is still filled with color, mural after mural. It's where art really thrives in downtown Norfolk. But by night is when things really get neon. It's the 5th annual Neon Festival. They call it a celebration of energy and light in Norfolk's Arts District. It runs Thursday and Friday night. Most of the action will take place here at the Plot on Granby Street. We're talking live music, food, of course, art. If you really want to get all the details, neonnfk.com/festival.
Those ponies get in the water to get ready to make that 4-minute swim, and that crowd just goes crazy. I got goosebumps right this second just thinking about it. It's been hard on the herd. Of course, it's been hard on the saltwater cowboys who've been, down there taking care of them. The problem is these are wild animals.
They live out there, they're in the wild, and so they're not being seen every day. For a horse to be infected, they need a wound. There is some old barbed wire around on acetate, which we think probably causes the initial wound. So what's going on with these pitheosis infections, the horse's immune system keeps on piling on tissue. Without this organism is very treatable. This thing is just a nightmare.
For 40 years, 82-year-old Robert Triplett has sold these roasted peanuts in Portsmouth.
Call me the peanut man.
Every single bag he sells goes toward the Yes We Can scholarship, honoring his late friend and his son Ricky King, who died of a brain aneurysm. With the money raised, he's helping Portsmouth students pay for college. This year, he's trying to raise $5,000.
Just people complained about how bad things were in Portsmouth, about not having the opportunity to do this or that. And I said, well, you're sitting around all day doing nothing. So, we just need to get up and do things.
So every week, he hits the streets, moving so fast we could hardly keep up. He hops on one bus, and then another one, until he gets to Norfolk to pick up the roasted peanuts he'll sell. It's his way of trying to show people that, despite the obstacles, we can all make a difference. Years ago, he lost both of his legs to an infection. But even then, he's determined to keep going.
What say, old man? You be careful now, I got my crew with me. I try to get them as fresh as I can.
His inspiration to sell peanuts came from learning about George Washington Carver, who taught poor farmers all about cultivating peanuts as a way of feeding themselves and becoming economically secure. In that same way, Triplett is now helping others overcome barriers by selling them to send kids to college.
Okay, Uncle Bob, we got you ready. Here's your fresh roasted peanuts, ready to roll. I honestly believe that we was put on this earth for a purpose, and most of us may not realize it, but I think it's to serve our fellow man, do what we can to make the community better.
So every Saturday,
make sure I get up on time.
He goes through his routine.
Going up to my spot where I set up at.
Every week, you'll find the smiling Portsmouth man at the Old Town Farmers Market.
It's a good day to eat some peanuts.
Doing his favorite thing, meeting new people in his community.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Thank you. Stay here till I sell out. Thank you.
He hasn't missed a single Saturday in the last 5 years.
These two are my favorite.
And after all this time, the 82-year-old says he questions why he's still on this earth.
Good old Virginia peanuts.
But by now, he's figured it's for this reason.
I so enjoy doing it, man.
If his little bags of peanuts can make a difference,
I appreciate it, y'all.
Then the rest of us will know there's hope for us too. In Portsmouth.
Peanuts, fresh roasted peanuts.
Adriana de Alba, 13 News Now.
So art is for everyone, and certainly there are no limits on who can produce art.
The great halls of the Chrysler Museum in Norfolk give all walks of life access to some of the world's most famous artists.
Art is a practice of self-awareness in humans. We're making a thing so that other folks can see it, enjoy it, critique it.
But in one exhibit here, the names alongside the pieces are only well known to a few.
Maybe producing art is a way to think about their life, their situation.
Intricately drawn and crafted, rather simple, yet stunning. These artists,
William Overton,
didn't have much to work with.
I'm 39.
And that wasn't by choice, per se. The crowd drawn here sheds light on who is behind these works because the artists themselves are absent.
William will hopefully be able to actually come and experience it once he's free and see his work in the context of all these other artists' works.
I make art mostly for myself because it's therapeutic. I enjoy it. And I'm kind of good at it.
A passion that started long before coming to the Chesapeake jail, and one he plans to pursue on the outside.
I think that having success outside of my circle of individuals that I'm already related to and close to would definitely be an encouragement and a motivator to keep me from going back to poor decision making.
I think it's often easy to create something out of your imagination, but it's not often that easy to create the hope that we need to keep ourselves moving forward.
In Norfolk.
And I hope he continues on this path because he's obviously immensely talented.
Madeline Schmidt, 13 News Now.
Africa must rise! Africa must rise! Africa's rising again! Africa's rising again!
When I arrived, there were those in white because they wanted to be baptized. They wanted to be cleansed in the waters.
No longer can the African story stay buried in the soul of America.
The waters are life-giving and life-affirming.
In the rhythm of the waves and the whistle of the wind, at sunrise, an African naming ceremony. Reclaiming an identity stripped away in a journey that forced the first enslaved Africans to these shores.
It was a phenomenal sight. We danced, we sang.
Serious reflection on what happened here 400 years ago breeds emotions that swell in every direction. Sadness, anger, pride, lots of pride.
I wanted to come because I am a black man who is interested in black history. I wanted to come because my wife is from Virginia, and 400 years is pretty special.
400 years since the British ship White Lion came here to Point Comfort, known now as Fort Murrow, with kidnapped human cargo from Angola, recorded by early English settler John Rolfe as 20 and odd Negroes on board.
It is impossible to imagine an America without the courage and the spirit and the accomplishment of the African diaspora.
And it is impossible not to crave information about who those Africans were and give volume to their voices.
I feel like they're listening and watching to make sure we do the right thing.
That takes us to the Tucker Family Cemetery in Hampton's Aberdeen Gardens.
Those Africans who were taken from their homeland.
Thought it was like a big ditch, or I don't know what it was.
We got to the end of the street and saw her and her car up in the air, and she was in a complete state of panic.
Because her car ended up in a sinkhole right in the middle of the road.
Started billowing out like it looked like a movie or something was happening right here on Fisherman's Drive.
Kelly Corner says the road collapsed as she drove down it.
I was just afraid. I started to panic. Just wanted to get out the car.
My first thought was make sure she's okay, because she was clearly not okay.
Officials with Norfolk Public Utilities say a pipe put in back in 1945 broke underground, causing the road to cave. For most of the day Monday, crews worked to replace it. And that's not an easy job. Horner is still shaken, but she's thankful she was able to get out of her car and wasn't hurt.
Flowers, shards of glass, and memories are all that are left behind on this stretch of Yorktown Road.
As a parent, you're torn because you're trying to be there for your child, at the same breath cannot fathom you getting the call.
A terrible accident left a Yorktown community shaken, with the phrases "Tab strong" and "Pray for Tab" as a rallying cry to begin healing. 3 16-year-old boys from Tab High School left a homecoming dance Saturday night when their car ran off the road, crashed into trees, and flipped over. None of them survived.
Oh, I said I wasn't gonna cry.
Nakia Green's son knew all 3 victims. He played basketball and football with 2 of them.
Competitive, friendly, outgoing, jokester, respectful. He described them all as better than himself. And that's so hard for parents.
About a quarter of a mile from the crash site sits Bethel Baptist Church.
So sad on many levels.
Doug Eccles is a senior pastor and says he got a call Saturday night that about 100 people gathered in the parking lot.
Yeah, it was just a time of sadness. Really, people were kind of stunned. Some of them were just very, very stunned and shocked, obviously, and then just weeping.
As the cars slow down, so does the town, in an effort to remember the young men who had so much life ahead of them. In Yorktown, Jacqueline Lee, 13 News Now.
An update now to a 13 News Now investigation we first brought you in May. Dozens of fire hydrants in Portsmouth not working. You shared your concerns. Now, city crews are out there fixing hydrants one by one to bring that number down. 13 News Now investigative reporter Evan Watson is in the newsroom with the new numbers. Evan?
Even with new hydrants breaking, Portsmouth crews have cut that number from 25 to 13. And that includes the hydrant outside the home of Doris Cross, a woman we first talked to 3 months ago. This silver hydrant right here, it's back online across the street from Doris Cross and her home of 30 years.
I'm the mother of 10, grandmother of 17, great-grandmother of 26. Oh, I was saying if we have a family reunion, I don't know where we're going to have it unless we rent the scope.
The hydrant used to look like these, featuring an out-of-service ring. Some nights, Cross would think about it.
But when I would turn on the TV and I would see this fire, this place and that fire, of course, that was the first thing that came in my mind. What if?
Earlier this year, Portsmouth reported 25 out-of-service fire hydrants, double the amount of broken hydrants in the other Hampton Roads cities combined. That number is now nearly cut in half at 13. A few weeks ago, city crews installed a new hydrant by Doris's house.
Praise the Lord, prayers were answered. I think your investigation and the newscast that came on the TV, I think it opened some people's eyes.
And while talking to Doris, the biggest coincidence.
Try not to worry about anything, not right now. Fire engine there.
Sirens on, a fire truck drove by the front porch into another spot in Cross's neighborhood. She says there's still work to do. 13 broken hydrants would still be the largest amount in Hampton Roads. But now she says she feels grateful for herself and her neighbors.
Now y'all ready? Let's walk.
He goes by the name Officer Crumpton.
Camera time, guys. Go, camera time.
Sadly, this is his last day here at Green Run High School. After 7 years of being a school resource officer,
I'm retired.
He's forced to turn in his uniform due to a city ordinance.
When you turn 65, which I turned on December the 8th, our policy is that you have to retire. If I could have stayed, I would have stayed until at least the end of the school year.
But he couldn't. So today, surrounded by his stallion family, They made sure he went out in style.
Thank you, sweetie. There's a lot of great people out here, no matter the reputation, but it's nothing like that.
Even on his last day, he's working hard.
Love you guys, love you.
Getting kids home for the holidays and giving his final goodbye hugs.
So I'm gonna be back to see y'all. Trust me, y'all see me around, okay?
As Officer Crumpton.
The first thing you're gonna ask you gonna come to my graduation? Of course I'm gonna be the graduate. Plus I'm gonna be at the prom. The prom.
Thank you.
I'll see you later. I asked her I'd come back and do volunteer. She said, of course. So I've already filled out my application and submitted it. And I hope that'll surprise the kids. That's where I want to be. I want to be here. There's nowhere else I want to go. Yes, sir. I'm a Miss Green Ryan.
Dispatch 454. In Virginia Beach, Allie Weatherton.
It's my last day as the guardian of Green Run High School.
13 News Now.
Would you look at this and think that Oprah has joined our news team?
President Trump has ordered a withdrawal of American forces.
We put our photographer, Stephen Wozni, to work to test out what's called deep fake artificial intelligence technology. He starts with his target video, tags its movements, and pairs it with another image. It's not your father's cut and paste.
Right now what I'm doing is running a script that's detecting every face in those frames that I split up from the video. I'm going to start training the computer to recognize that new face. And the longer we do this, the better it gets.
And when he's done, Oprah has turned into me. And one more. We asked David Allen, who is this? Richard Nixon, right?
Right now that you think another set of eyes on this.
It's you!
Oh my God, I gotta take a picture of that. How did you do that?
She documents everything.
I have my morning meds and I'm gonna have to be down for you. I was sure where the hell I go.
The videos. Wow.
Why are you sleeping? I don't have no medicine. Come on. Come on, Tony.
Why so many videos?
I just started videotaping everything, because I feel that, what is a picture is worth 1,000 words? Yeah, and seeing is believing. As a child, Tony was very lovable, playful. He always had a smile for you. He was around either 18 to 24 months, around that age, because he had started saying words and little two-word sentences and things like that. He had eye contact, and then he just kind of lost his speech. And I was very concerned. I knew signs.
Don't put. Walk to the car.
You better tell your.
Walk to the car.
Don't put.
In the car.
Watch your head, watch your head.
It started at Papa John's. She didn't want to give the prescription to Tony because she was afraid that he would overdose.
You need to calm down.
He gets aggressive and begins throwing things.
Call 911.
She calls police.
At 29 years of age, you can't hold a script from him.
I'm not giving him that so he can't kill himself. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that.
A prescription for Ambien and a prescription that you use for ADHD. Sharita says Tony didn't always take his meds right and at times became too dependent.
They had many 911 calls that they could have researched or looked up in their computer and saw where it said substance abuse, where it said addiction.
What is your plans with the medicine?
I'm going to go over there and just fill it.
Okay. You're going to fill it, but are you planning on taking all of it, or are you going to take it how it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Which part?
How long has it been on the drug? Like all of them.
All of them?
Yeah.
Are you wanting to die?
No, I'm not wanting to die.
She had been on Virginia Beach Boulevard, but
Like
near
some shopping center.
near a motel, but in the middle of the night digging through the dumpsters, that God was telling her to recycle. You know, there were times that my husband would come home and then Alexa thought my husband was the devil.
I remember I thought I was a fairy
I thought there was the devil inside the house. So if I opened up all the windows and just like did this like thingy, like they would all go away.
She thought trees were bending.
And the fact that our Christmas Day was going to a psychiatric hospital, it was life-changing.
Dance has always been a part of my life. Me creating a dance company, in some way it was a part of me answering a need. I feel as a dancer, ultimately I just really want to inspire people to be their best selves. I'm Shawn Labadie and I'm the founder of Inspire Arts Collective and I'm from Hampton, Virginia. I've been dancing since I can remember, since I was about 5 years old. I feel like that's how most people start. They just love to move.
For me, I'd always shoot for not only meeting their expectation, but surpassing their expectation.
We want to make sure that every tattoo that walks out of the door is of high standard. My name's Carl Fuchs. I'm co-owner of Red 5 Tattoo.
I'm Chris Garcia. I'm co-owner of Red 5 Tattoo, and I'm from Virginia Beach,
Virginia. The thing that really made me want to become a tattooer was actually some encouragement that I had gotten from my grandmother.
I want to say to the president, this is not okay. It isn't, that conversation is not okay.
The impeachment inquiry is just getting started.
How President Trump is reacting to Joseph McGuire's testimony.
Virginia Beach in the national spotlight, why Rolling Stones magazine is singing the oceanfront's praises.
We could get some much needed rain this weekend. I'm tracking our chances for some showers.
Good morning. How are you doing today? You want pancake on a stick or yogurt?
At Sewell's Point Elementary in Norfolk,
Austin! Pancake on a stick? Pancake.
Chef Christian Williams knows how to stand out.
Here you go, Tina. Olivia, pancake on a stick or yogurt?
Christian has only been here since the spring,
Joseph.
but he's already mastered the art of personalizing the lunchroom.
Hi, sweetheart. Put some apples in your bag? I wanted to do something that related to school nutrition and the kids' diets.
Christian approached the cafeteria manager this summer with an idea.
There's a pumpkin, potatoes, cherry tomatoes.
He said, I want to decorate the walls some.
Corn, green beans, limes.
And I said, sure.
The fruits and veg took me all summer to do. This one over here is called Strong Bones, and that one down there is called Strawberry Mimi.
The first East Coast Surfing Championships were here, Long Island, New York, 1962. Then, just a year later, it came here to the Virginia Beach oceanfront.
Win or lose, you take ownership of the team. Granted, luck is a big part of it.
Now, it's too late for you to join this year, but if you want to indulge your fantasy friends, ask some questions like, who you flexing this week? What's your running back situation like? And this one, you don't have any Redskins on your team, do you? You're going to get some responses. For your Daybreak 60, I'm Philip Townsend.
Our days have been getting shorter since the summer solstice back in June and continue to do so until the first day of winter in December. Lower amounts of sunlight knock over that first domino in the chemical chain reaction. And since we know when the days truly start to feel shorter, it's the varying temperature and moisture levels that allow the annual show to take shape.
There are a lot of tricks that Aaron uses, too, in order to grab their attention, like whistles, shaking a bag of treats, even barking like a dog.
Where's this going?
And now it was time for Bentley's proofs.
The little boat.
A salute to the Navy. Here's Bentley in a tiny boat.
The fourth Thursday in November is Thanksgiving, where loved ones meet and eat. Mains, sides, and of course dessert. By the end of the meal, you're probably ready for a nap, like me right now. But why? People who don't eat the turkey still get hit with that food coma, so turkey's not really the culprit.
From their famous waffle burger to stuffed collard green wings, I truly was in foodie heaven. That was not attractive, but
Very good.
So check them out and say Madison sent you.
Oh my gosh.
That's your Friday flavor for 13 News Now.
Another about face from the governor.
I tell the truth. I'm telling the truth today. That was not my picture.
Ralph Northam changing his story for a third time about a racist photo on his EVMS yearbook page. Then another astonishing revelation.
It was a talent show.
The governor admitting to once darkening his face during a dance contest. The calls for resignation growing louder.
This is much larger than just one picture of blackface or a Klan hood.
The governor refusing to step down. Special team coverage starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm David Allen. It's now been a little more than 24 hours since that racist photo surfaced. The photo found on Governor Northam's page in his 1984 EVMS yearbook. Since then, he's apologized for appearing in that photo. Then today in Richmond, the governor says he's not in that picture. The governor's attempt at damage control by most accounts is falling short. Within the past 90 minutes, Attorney General Mark Herring and North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper called on the governor to resign. The NAACP also doubling down on their call for Governor Northam to step down. Here's how we're breaking down this story. Dan Kennedy has the conversation online. Adriana de Alba has reaction from the campus of EVMS. But we begin with Jacqueline Lee, who was at the governor's press conference in Richmond.
David, during that press conference, I asked the governor directly, does he feel like he's putting Virginia first by holding on to his position as governor? He said this is time to talk through this. It's time to have some candid conversations about race, and he said he is not resigning. In his first press appearance since the political scandal erupted, Governor Ralph Northam said prior to Friday he had never even seen the photo, drawing anger and condemnation from constituents and top leaders across the country.
That was clearly racist and offensive.
After apologizing yesterday for being in the photo, today Governor Northam walked it back. He said there's no way he could have been in the photo because he learned from a previous mistake he made in 1984.
I did participate in a dance contest in San Antonio in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume.
Leader of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus delegate Lamont Bagby said Northam missed the mark and amplified the call for the governor to resign.
His frame of thinking is still, it was okay to be Michael Jackson. I don't think it's okay to be Michael Jackson blackface, nor do I think it's fair to be blackface as Ku Klux, next to a Ku Klux Klan member.
Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax refusing to take a position. He wouldn't answer whether or not the governor should step down. Do you believe that Governor Northam needs to resign? I mean, how exactly do you feel?
We just put out a statement and, indicated our belief that obviously the pictures were racist and vile and abhorrent.
Protesters say resignation is the only option.
If it's acceptable for him to do it, that's going to speak volumes for those who support and, white nationalists and white supremacy.
Adding it's the only way Virginia can heal and move forward. And I just got off the phone with the Senate Republican Caucus Communications Director, and I asked him, do Republicans feel that this offense is high enough that they would constitutionally want to remove Governor Northam from office if Governor Northam refuses to step down? He said it's too premature at this point in time. Live in Richmond, Jacqueline Lee, 13 News Now.
All right, our team coverage brings us back to Norfolk. 13 News Now reporter Adriana de Alba is live where this political firestorm all started, the campus of EVMS.
Hi, David. We had a chance to spend some time in the EVMS library to take a closer look at this yearbook and try to figure out how a picture like this would even end up getting published. Today, the president of EVMS says he is calling for an urgent meeting between board members, faculty, and students to further talk about the issue. We tried asking current EVMS students today for their thoughts on this. Several of them actually told us school faculty specifically instructed them not to speak to media on the matter. Earlier today, the president of EVMS breaking his silence with this statement, quote, "We share the outrage, alarm, and sadness regarding the picture published in the 1984 student yearbook. The picture is shockingly abhorrent and absolutely antithetical to the principles, morals, and values we hold. We cannot change the events of the past, but we can use these events as reminders of the importance of our ongoing work toward diversity and inclusion. And let me just say this, the picture on Governor Northam's yearbook page wasn't the only one we saw of students in blackface. That's something else school leaders haven't yet addressed. We're live in Norfolk. Adriana de Alba, 13 News Now.
The Virginia Black Caucus is again calling on Governor Northam to resign. In a statement, they say, quote, "Our confidence in his ability to govern for over 8 million Virginians has been eviscerated." That's not the only group calling for the governor to step down. 13 News Now anchor Dan Kennedy joins us with reaction online.
Well, David, if Northam resigns or is impeached, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax would become the next governor. Fairfax had been silent on the matter until this afternoon when he issued a statement that neither asked for Governor Northam's resignation nor outwardly supported him staying in office. Instead, Fairfax said, quote, "At this critical and defining moment in the history of Virginia and this nation, we need leaders with the ability to unite and help us rise to the better angels of our nature." Meanwhile, I also need to let you know that Attorney General Mark Herring has said in an email it's time for Northam to step down. Herring said he talked with Fairfax, gave him his complete support and commitment should he become governor. Now, Northam has also lost the support of the Virginia House Democrats. They said in a statement today, quote, "Regardless of the governor's account of whether or not he was in the photo, he has lost the trust of constituents and elected officials." We're also hearing from the NAACP in a tweet saying, "We are deeply disappointed in the governor's failure to take accountability today. Using shoe polish on his face in any form to mimic Michael Jackson showcases his lack of awareness of the discrimination against black people." Also, the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, as you just mentioned, David, calling for his resignation. And finally, we need to let you know about North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, who has issued a statement on Twitter calling the photo reprehensible and saying resignation is the only way forward. David.
Dan, thank you. The next in line for governor is Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. He is 39 and the second African-American to be elected to statewide office in Virginia. The first was Governor Doug Wilder. Before taking office, Fairfax was an attorney and served as an assistant U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. He went to Columbia Law School and Duke University. Here's a timeline of the past 24 hours. The yearbook picture surfaced yesterday afternoon. Around 7 last night, Governor Northam released a statement saying, in part, "A website published a photograph of me from my 1984 medical school yearbook in a costume that is clearly racist and offensive." Around 11 o'clock this morning, Northam told a Virginia Democrat that he doesn't believe he was in the picture. Around 2:45 p.m. at the governor's mansion, he denied he was in the picture. The conversation continues after the break. I'll be joined by blogger and political activist Vivian Page. And did today's new conference change your mind about the situation? Open up the 13 News Now app, tap the live voting tile, and tell us the results are ahead as 13 News Now continues this Saturday evening. Quickly recapping the latest from today, Governor Northam now says he's not one of the two people in that racist EVMS yearbook photo. Attorney General Mark Herring, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, and the NAACP all calling on Governor Northam to resign. Northam says he's not going anywhere. Joining me in the studio here is blogger and political activist Vivian Page to talk about this. Great to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Good to see you again, too, David.
Do you believe the governor when he now says that's not him in the photo?
I think it's possible it's not him in the photo. I'm not sure that that matters to the conversation about him resigning.
What does matter?
What matters is when you've lost the trust of the Virginia people, and certainly the changing story is a part of that consideration. He's changed the story 3 or 4 times now. And so had he come out with the initial story, what he came out with in the press conference today, if he had started with that, perhaps it would have been credible. But having first taken credit for saying yes, you know, I'm in the photo, yeah, I'm sorry I did that, and then moving through these various changes, well, it may not be me, I'm not sure if it's me, now I know it's not me, and now I don't even know why that photo's on my page. It's kind of, it actually ruins his credibility.
Was the Michael Jackson admission that he put on some blackface for a dance concert years ago enough for him to resign, even if that picture isn't him?
I wasn't the racist in this photo, but I might have been a racist in another. It was an interesting excuse. He should have been gone anyway, but as far as I'm concerned, that just actually, that's the first rule of holes. When you're in one, stop digging. Mm-hmm. And he was in a hole so far that he came up with something that just was not any way mitigating what had been going on.
What impact, if any, might this have on Democrats in November?
Well, you know, obviously that's a political question, and part of the process when you're thinking about politics is to figure out who benefits and who does not. There's no doubt that if the governor refuses to resign, not only is the General Assembly in session right now trying to get some very important work done. We're trying to get through tax conformity is one of those big things, but we're trying to get they're trying to do some serious work. That's going to be all drugged down as they go through this. We're hitting crossover here real soon. Then as we head into November with all 140 seats of the legislature up for re-election, can you imagine any Democrat standing next to him, considering that every single one of them have said, all of them, all the Senate Democrats, the House Democrats have all said he should resign. So how is he beneficial to Democrats taking control of the legislature in November?
Final question, quick answer if you can. How important going forward is the support of Justin Fairfax?
Y'all need to leave Justin Fairfax alone. Justin Fairfax is the one person who needs to be quiet in this, and he's done exactly what he needs to do because of the fact that he's the one who's going to be the beneficiary. Look to the others. Look to everybody else. Mark Herring has come out and said, yes, he should resign. I'm waiting on Bobby Scott, Congressman Bobby Scott, and I'm also waiting on our two senators to come and say the same thing.
Vivian Page, always great to get your perspective.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. All right. Our team coverage continues to uncover new details. Trust us to keep you updated on air, online, and on the go with the free 13 News Now app. Rochelle joins us with your weekend forecast when 13 News Now continues. All right, it was warm today, but was warm enough for this. Wow, the Speedo. 13 News Now was at the oceanfront this morning as nearly 3,500 people took a dip. The water temperature off the coast, 42 degrees. All of this to raise big bucks for the Special Olympics. Today's chill seekers raised $1.2 million. All right, Rochelle, would you have done it?
No. I've been saying that since I was little. I would have never done that. You know, if it was maybe tomorrow, it's going to be a little bit warmer. The water temperature is still the same, but at least when they get out, it's going to be warmer for tomorrow. So kind of a trade-off. Still not too bad for today, though. We landed in the 40s, and as we move into tomorrow, we'll be into the 50s, then we'll get into the 60s, and then possibly into the 70s for parts of the area. Multiple times this week, we do have a run at 70 degrees. Let's take a look at sky view right now over Hampton. Not too bad. It is going to be a quiet evening across all of Hampton Roads and northeastern North Carolina. As we move through your Saturday, no issues at all. Current temperatures across the board. 39 right now in Norfolk, 38 in Smithfield, is 38 also in Newport News. Our friends along the Outer Banks, 40 in Currituck and also in Manio. Right now it's 37 degrees in Virginia Beach and also in Hampton, 46 in Suffolk. So it's been a little bit warmer toward our inland areas, coastal areas, now into the 30s and those lower 40s, but still into the middle 40s, closer to 50 degrees for some of our inland areas. Tonight, temperatures will fall into the middle 30s, mainly clear. A quiet night, light wind, so really no issues tonight if you're heading out maybe for dinner or anything like that. Tomorrow, warmer, a slight warm-up. Areas across the south side and even into North Carolina have the chance to see a few showers. Here's why. Right now, satellite and radar, it's getting a nice break. No issues at all, mainly clear skies out there, so those temperatures will cool down through the night. But taking a look down to our south, just off the coast of Florida, is low pressure. You're seeing those scattered showers in the clouds around there. That is actually going to track along the coast, not moving inland, so it will bring us a few showers into parts of the south side and northeastern North Carolina for tomorrow. Starting Futurecast off here at 11 o'clock, so right around midday. Temperatures already warmer than they were today. We'll be into the upper 40s to the lower 50s. Those clouds push into North Carolina first, and so does the rain soon to follow there. Temperatures rising into the low to mid 50s, and that rain continues to track off to the north as that system stays off the coastline. Again, not moving inland, so some of the areas closer to 95 will stay dry through the day tomorrow, but they will still see the cloud cover. Timestamp there says 11 o'clock tomorrow night. So as we move through the overnight hours into Monday morning, that system pulls off into the ocean. Rain becomes more scattered to isolated. Clouds stick around into Monday morning, but moving into the middle of the day Monday, take a look at this. We're into the 50s. Those clouds starting to dissipate, so we will get some sunshine back in here for the second half of the day on Monday, which we're forecasting very similar temperatures to tomorrow.
which is about 5 degrees above normal for this time of year. Middle 50s, scattered rain mainly early in the day with partial clearing across the board. 48 hours, we are going to be seeing not too much rain across the area, less than a ½ inch for most of our region. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. Tomorrow and Monday, middle 50s. We jump into the 60s. By Tuesday, slight cool down Wednesday, and then we're getting closer to 70 Thursday and Friday.
Great. Thanks for letting me sit in with the band.
Yeah, of course.
Welcome to the weekend.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit of everything today on this Saturday. When we come back, a little bit of Super Bowl 53 preview. There's also the Virginia Cavaliers, who felt quite at home as they hosted the Miami Hurricanes this afternoon. After narrowly escaping a win on the road at North Carolina State 3 days ago, third-ranked Virginia back at home and building momentum. The Cavs riding a 3-game win streak as they hosted Miami this afternoon. They did so without Ty Jerome, out with a stiff back, but you know the Who's. They kind of managed off the nice pick and roll. Jack Salt going in with feeling, part of a short 9-0 run. Who's up 18-11. Then before the half, DeAndre Hunter steal, and we're going the other way. Yes, he can finger roll. They're up 7 at the break. Hunter led them with 14 points. Then they pull away down the stretch. Kyle Gott struggled, but still managed 10 points, including the three-pointer. UVA a winner 56-46. Next up, a rematch with Duke. 12th-ranked Virginia Tech. They were thin in many ways along the bench. Only 7 players dressed today. They still took control against the Wolfpack of NC State. Ahmed Hill off the break. Right side 3 good. He had just 9 points. It was a low-scoring game by itself. They were up 6.5. Kerry Blackshear inside for 2 of his 13 points. Tech held State to just 24 total points for the game. Second lowest for them in 50 years. Nickel Alexander-Walker with a nice dunk. They roll 47-24. Currently in progress, Norfolk State. Remember, they're 7-0 in the MEAC right now, trailing Howard in the second half, 62-53. As for the ODU women, they were on the road against Rice this afternoon. Monarchs up 4 at half, trailed by 2 here. Victoria Morris, yes, contact and a foul. Only ODU player in double figures with 20. They led 31-30 at that point. Too much of the Owls. Down the stretch, they would edge ODU by a final of 48-42. The Lady Pirates of Hampton, also on the road at High Point in a big South play. Lauren Van Arsdale going coast to coast for the easy layup. She finished with 19. Later, it was Ashley Bates. She'll get the steal, head the other way, led them with 22 points. Wasn't enough as they would fall to the Panthers, and HU's 3-game win streak ends. Final 82-73. The Norfolk State women, they fall to Howard on the road today, 74-70. Super Bowl 53 from Atlanta gets underway tomorrow evening. Patriots are making their 3rd straight appearance. Has all the experience. Quarterback Tom Brady in his 9th Super Bowl appearance. He's going for a 6th Super Bowl title along with Bill Belichick. Meantime, the Rams, well, they haven't had a Super Bowl since 2002, last time they were in. And if you think about it, the Rams team that was LA-based hadn't been to a Super Bowl in 40 years, going back to 1979.
Yeah, I'm excited for the game. It'll be fun. It's a game you look forward to, a game you dream about, and a game you work towards, your whole life and put everything you have into it.
I think you got to keep it in perspective, and you're trying to do it you want to win the game, and you got to go out there and execute at the end if you want to win.
And as far as college hoops is concerned, the ODU men in action tonight at home at 7 o'clock. We hope to have highlights for you. And the HU men at High Point. That game happens at 7 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Brian. Some nice weather coming, huh?
Yeah, we do have a few showers possible for the South Side and North Carolina for tomorrow, but scattered, warmer than today and warm again on Monday.
All right, that's 13 News Now. You're up to date at this hour. We'll be back tonight at 11. We'll see you then.